It's nice to see a packed crowd for Tim. Thank you so much for joining us. So Tim, it's not lost on anyone here that you were the original creator, the founder of the World Wide Web, something you gave birth to 35 years ago. It feels we're at an important juncture yet again for the web. Just express to us how you think about this moment in time as we look forward to artificial intelligence and all the changes it could bring.
It's really interesting. It's a really important time. Maybe this year, in some ways, is more important than any point. Looking back over the 3 decades, obviously there's a whole lot of stuff out there which is exciting and to be proud of. You all know of the ways in which the web can be toxic, obnoxious, and polarizing. But in general, we're at a point where there's an elbow in the web that we are fixing. We could fix the algorithms which polarize. We can, and now with Interrupt and the power of solid wallets, then we can actually build things which are suddenly pro-human again.
Yeah.
We were just musing backstage that we were here at Web Summit a few years back, and we were talking about your comments that you wanted a new contract for the web and you're working on a concept, a solid protocol. And here we are today as we talk about commercializing that, taking that to the market. Just explain to us why you are so interested in digital wallets or data wallets, however you want to describe them, and why they align with your concept for the web.
Well, my concept for the web is that it should serve individuals. John always wants to make sure that the organizations profit from it as well. But for me, the fact that a lot of people now are just stuck on one social media, they're very disempowered. The way social media take advantage of you, and a lot of people get the feeling that they're trapped in a system which is not actually working in their best interests. But we are developers. We can code. We can build new stuff, and we are building new stuff. And that new stuff respects people, and so it's very much more powerful as a developer. I know I want to have that power, and I know I can get it by coding myself. But as a developer, I know all of the people who do not code deserve to have the same power that I have.
Yeah, and we've been talking about wallets forever. We just didn't know we were, actually.
Well, exactly, to the point. This is not something we're talking about that you carry around in your wallet or you carry around virtually just for your money. It's a much broader concept than that. So just explain how you see a digital wallet today and into the future.
Yeah, so the way we look at wallets today is almost like when I was a kid, we had a rotary phone in the house, made of Bakelite, and it was a phone. But now when I drag that thing out of my pocket, it's still a phone, but the capability of it's massively different. And the way we look at it, wallets today are like that Bakelite phone was, which is good news in as much as there's a lot of development ahead of us. But the wallets we all carry, probably everybody here today has used a wallet. We used it to get our coffee, or we got on the train with it, or we got on our boarding pass on the plane. But that's a very transactional experience. Solid wallets don't just take transactional data, which is great, shows utility, but it takes your private data as well, and publicly available data that we're all used to on the web that Tim invented, and brings it all together. And bringing it together in a solid wallet, then we start to head towards a similar experience to the iPhone, in as much as now we can get real utility out of the combination of transactional data, private data, and publicly available data. In those overlap areas are the real potency of wallets. And that's what we built.
Some of this idea was based on the idea that you wanted to address privacy concerns. Some of the big technology companies not doing that to the best of their ability in your view previously. But if you're centralizing absolutely everything about yourself, from your identity to your financial details to medical records, how dangerous is that? And how sure are you that this cannot be breached by hackers, Tim?
If you're going to put all of your eggs in one basket, if you're going to have, well, in fact, people will have more than one data wallet, probably from different, just like you have more than one email address, but still, if you're putting everything in there, it better be pretty secure. So, we have Bruce Schneier, who was on stage earlier, who's if you want to talk about how are these things going to be secure, then he'll tell you how to make them secure. So the stuff we build is enterprise-grade, scalable place where, there's going to be lots of important data there, but there's going to be the Solid Protocol with one interface. Everybody will try to crack the Solid Protocol data wallets, but on the other hand, the whole world also will be defending that. And you could argue that it's actually safer than having your data in all of these different, with this social network, with this pizza joint, sort of all having different bits of your data is actually more risky.
Investors and clients no doubt ask you the same thing, John, but the reality is if you're trying to, say, insure against that type of risk, there must be extreme reputational and company damage if this were hackable.
Nothing like the reputational damage you get today, actually. That's why Bruce and I were talking earlier today to some folks here, because you get the benefit of all the secure. I mean, the joy of having one of the best cryptographers in the world as our CISO, it helps. So when we architected it, we did it in such a way where it takes advantage of all of web security that exists today. So all the technologies that we're used to, we get that anyway. That's a given. But along with that, we now get a construct that says, okay, well, instead of existing in a massive database of 10 million credit cards, that is a very lucrative target, and as a consequence of which, some very sophisticated hacks can be run against it. I mean, it can be staked out for weeks. Very capable resources can be sent to try and take down that database because it's got great value. But if you trade that in for my wallet, I'm not going to suffer the same kind of attacks. It's almost like the difference in a bank robbery and the kind of sophistication that can go after a bank and all of that contains, and a mugger on the street that's going to come after my wallet. It's a very, very different attack profile, which is why Bruce is so keen on it. I mean, Bruce describes it as the way security should be run on the web. So
it's a great example. I want to turn to AI because, Tim, no doubt people want to hear your remarks on where you think AI is going and how disruptive you think it's going to be. And if we consider the privacy issues here and how much fake news is out there, how much fake content on social media, just as we have all of our data stored with these social media giants, how are you thinking about the evolution here and the threat to us as individuals?
So you wrapped up together fake news, whether AI will take over the world. There's a lot of... the first thing, 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote a piece about Charlie. Bob is fed up with Siri and Alexa because they work for different companies. Charlie works for Bob. Charlie works for the user. So I imagined and wrote up this. He was having this conversation with Charlie. And Charlie, you work for, who do you work for? I work for you, Bob. So that's why you've given me all your data, because there's a trust relationship. So I think it's really, really important that we have an AI. I have an AI that works for you, and you have I have an AI that works for me, and you have an AI that works for you. And that's the sort of thing we're used to. We legislate about that with doctors. When I have a doctor, it works for me. When I have a lawyer, it works for me. So we know how that works. So one of the first things I wrote about 5 years ago, I never imagined when I wrote about Charlie as AI that works for you, that we would actually be able to. Now we've built it.
Yeah, we have.
Because LLMs sort of were a thing. But the concept is the same. Look, obviously, the Solid Protocol, having my data in a wallet I completely control, is a really key part of that. So the demos we've done, you have all your data inside your wallet, you run the AI on it, and it does not bleed any of your personal data outside, but it does give you very much enhanced, tremendous replies because it understands you from your own personal data.
How does this work with social media sites that do want to retain our data? I mean, it's this whole freemium model. You get something, you get access to a site, you get to use everything that they have, all the services that they spend millions and millions or billions of dollars building, and as a result, you have to hand over your data or you have to pay a subscription. So are you saying with your service, people have to pay for the subscription to one of these other sites because you own the data?
No, well, that's certainly not our experience so far. I mean, it's like the web as is, which is to say there'll be all kinds of business models. And in some regard, you might get it for free from your bank, your government, any one of a number of folks who will distribute wallets. And then there might be other environments where you'll pay for maybe a highly secure wallet. We'll see what happens as the web evolves. But I think the point you make about the incumbents is an interesting one. I mean, they're hugely capable business. They're very agile. And I worked for IBM for a wee while. Actually, they acquired a company I'd founded. And when I was on IBM, I came to understand they'd been a high-tech business for over 100 years. How on earth do you say a high-tech business for over 100 years? Answer, you adapt, you take your resources, and you evolve. And so I can imagine, you know, the large incumbents who might resist the notion of you having control of your own data, they'll adapt. I mean, it's a question of having to.
Something that jumps out to me with the rise of AI virtual assistants is that they can do the heavy lifting for you. Some of the interoperability issues that we have as humans, having to constantly re-enter our data, trying to get access to sites, doesn't some of that get conquered by virtual assistants taking away the motivation to adopt the Solid protocol?
Well, the good news is if you use Solid, you only do it once. So if you use Solid and you have all your details in your profile, in your wallet.
But this is the same with a VR assistant, with a virtual assistant, isn't it? An AI assistant. They do it for you, so you are only doing it once.
Except they take it away to do it, and they populate multiple databases to do it. And that's real. I mean, it's just like the world we're living in today, where you exist in hundreds of databases. Now, instead of you needing to enter the data, it's done for you. But the principal problem still remains. You exist in all these databases. And not a single one of them has a holistic view of you. They've all got a very narrow and very myopic view of you. If we invert that, and that's what we're doing, where you have a very holistic representation of you, and the AI then that comes up, instead of taking you bits of you away, it asks you questions. It can inquire of you things that are important to you and interesting to it, and the resultant goes back to the inquirer. That's a way more efficient way to operate.
Tim, come in on this, because there's been a discussion point here. The more widespread our data is, the more fragmented or scattered our data is across the web, the more AI in future can learn about us and our preferences and send more marketing and commercial product our way. So does your technology stop that?
Yeah. Basically, if you put all your stuff in the data wallet, if all of the apps you use the data wallet, then you have total control. By default, everything is just private to you. In fact, people come to this. You know, we all talked about privacy. A lot of people here are worried about privacy. The governments are worried about privacy. People come to the Solid protocol and Solid wallets because they're worried about their privacy. But when they arrive and they've got a wallet which has got maybe they've got their clinical data in it. Maybe they've downloaded their genome. Maybe they've got a whole lot of phenome data. They've got their data about their lifestyle, and now they want to volunteer to be maybe part of a clinical trial. And they're in a tremendously powerful position because they can go and help people find drugs because they've got they've got what sort of person they are and their lifestyle connected to their genome, which is sort of golden for finding drugs. This is privacy is in a way it's a hygiene thing. You don't want harm to happen. You don't want the bad stuff to happen. But the power of the Solid protocol, the power of Solid wallets, is to collaborate together to solve problems using the data. Just as at the moment, I was just listening to people chatting on the bus. Somebody was saying how the calendar, it saves their life because they have a calendar on the Mac, pulls in calendar just from all over the place. Calendars neat, it runs across all the different things that they do. And in a way, yeah, calendars protocols are pretty good because you have authentication, you have access control, and they're interoperable. And then with a solid wallet, actually, everything else becomes, you have the power to collaborate with people like you do with a calendar right now.
Can you talk about the environment that you're bringing this technology to? Because there is so much AI hype out there. I can imagine just about everybody in the audience has mentioned AI in a sentence at some point today. Can you talk to that? Can you talk about the AI hype out there and what you make of it?
I think yeah, there were some people when the AI suddenly, at Davos, every building was covered with blockchain one year. And then so blockchain didn't sort of change the world as much as some people said it would. And then the next year, every building is covered in AI. And people are thinking, is that just going to be a... So actually, but no, AI is not a hypercycle. AI is real. We've been, in different ways, all of the work we've been working with the web of data has been trying to make systems of things, always trying to make the machine do things that so we don't have to do them. And all of that work, a lot of that work, which we're into things like Siri or like Wolfram Alpha, for example, a lot of people putting a lot of work into just trying to make the computer be able to do things like it. Then, obviously, when LLMs come along, bingo, there's a whole bunch of things things they can now do. So in some ways, it's great, and it's real. It's not going to. There is some AI hype out there, but basically this is real. We've been waiting. Some of us who read Asimov when we were kids have been waiting for this for a long time. We're surprised. I think almost everybody I know is surprised how rapidly it did come. But now it's here. We're determined to give you really powerful tools that work for you.
Is super intelligence around the corner?
That's not my... I'm not an expert on that, but I have been thinking about it a lot. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think so. That's my conclusion.
Interesting. I want to pick up on the landscape too from a different angle with you, John, because there is a really interesting sort of backdrop to this where in Europe there's an approach to the marketplace around digital IDs, the European Commission working in that direction. In the United States, much more fragmented market when it comes to the states, but some believe that allows innovation to flourish. What do you think? What is the better backdrop for this? Is Europe actually the gold standard here where you can build something that is workable because the system is the same? And does the US need to catch up to Europe in this context?
In a lot of regards, yeah. I mean, I think the EU has done a pretty good job, if not a very good job, of coming together when it comes to broad-scale regulations. GDPR is just a standout example, right? But in a way that the folks in the US have not. But inversely, there's a lot of things in Europe that still are fractured, and in the US, they're not as fractured. So the good news, I believe, is that we stand at the right side of being able to bring all this together. There's an interesting project, more than one, but the principal one in the EU is the ID and the data wallet, standardization on a data wallet, and we're very involved in that. There's another one which is the Open Wallet Foundation, which is being run out of Switzerland, I think, now. So really good European-led initiatives to standardize as early as we can on a data wallet, on a digital wallet.
Let me give you a chance to talk about AI too. It is coming at pace. Where do you see the landscape in terms of what you're creating and how it's going to work with AI?
It's made all the difference, actually, because having said we've been talking about wallets for a while but didn't realize it, I think the world at large has now changed the vernacular. Now the description of a digital area that you get to use for your utility, we're calling a wallet. I think it subdivides into transactional wallets versus the solid wallet as we perceive it, and that's what we're able to show to folks. But AI does the job of integrating the interoperability bits. So if you think about those three big principal areas, transactional data, private data, and public data, think of it as a Venn diagram. It's those overlap areas that make it really potent. But if you, as an individual, were left to do it all yourself, we're really no better off than we are today, where we use Google for one thing, we have applications for something else, we have our digital wallet for getting our coffee and so on. And we do all the heavy lifting. But with AI, it can do it for us. So in those overlap areas, those potent areas of that Venn diagram, AI can bring out the value for us, as long as it's done properly, to Tim's point. It's only worth doing if you can keep your data pertinent to you and expose it when you need to get the value of the LLM.
We've got about 2 minutes left, so let's just talk about milestones for Interrupt, milestones for digital wallets. Where are you going with this? Do you need more adoption? What would suggest that this has been a success for your business and a success for the concept?
Yes, I think now we can look back and see it is a successful concept. We've got, and yes, we've got, it's live for everybody in Flanders. When they interact with the government online, then they do it through a digital wallet. And using the Solid protocol, that's live. We've got a 3-year contract with the Flanders government to run that. So this thing is demonstrably functional. There are people all over the planet and all walks of life. It's partly other governments, sectors of governments, big companies, travel agents, insurance companies are realizing that the way they want to treat their customers best is they want to give them the power of a solid the Solid protocol accessible space. So it's very, very exciting. There's a lot of momentum. We don't need everybody to jump off the social networks. We're happy for them to, bit by bit, create spaces as we learn about the best way to use this stuff, and it accelerates. So it's very exciting. It's taking off. We don't need everybody to suddenly jump off the social networks now. It'll happen bit by bit.
And John, finally from you, what are the milestones you're looking at now?
Yeah, well, I think the way we talk about it, the original web was driven, its adoption was driven by browsers. And then the version 2 of the web, version 2.0, was driven by applications and the adoption of applications. And now the way we see it, and in Tim's words, it's about wallets. And so the conversations we're having with many corporations who've got applications now are looking for the next way to give experiences to their customers, and they're looking at Solid wallets to do it.
John, Sir Tim, thank you so much for your time here at Web Summit.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us. Web Summit.
Thank you.